Story 1. After a lot of discussion, my wife and I decided that we definitely do not want children. We are telling them tomorrow morning. Story 2. I had always thought I did not want children. No maternal instinct, mild dislike of infants, and a preference for quiet hobbies. Then I broke up with an abusive partner after he threw a 5-pound glass object at my head. About a year later, with a much better partner, I started thinking having children might not be so bad. I was a maybe yes, he was a maybe no. We decided to stay together because neither position was a deal breaker. About 4 years into our marriage, it hit me that I did not want just any children, but I really wanted his children. We had a talk where I said, "Listen, I want to have children with you, but if you decide no, we are not getting divorced because our relationship is number one for me." He thought about it for a couple of weeks and came back and said, "Okay, let's do it, but only once." The second child, 7 years later, was his idea, and he turned out to be an incredible father to both children. Story 3. If you do not want children, you should not be in a relationship with someone who wants children, and vice versa. The fact that many people do not understand this amazes me. Story 4. Well, we broke up. I have learned this is a question I have to ask my partners even before I date them. I do that because I am firm in that I don't want children. I am a woman, and if I am not open about it from the beginning, the assumption is that I am not opposed to having children. That can be a really bad situation if you get married and are on completely different wavelengths on this topic. If they are either unsure or want children, I am just not compatible with them. I am not going to waste mine or their time trying. I can't compromise on something so profoundly life-altering. So honestly, this needs to be a discussion that is had really early on in a relationship, especially if you are firmly for or against having children. Story 5. I have fertility and medical issues which I was upfront and clear about. In the words of my gynecologist, if pregnancy doesn't kill you, childbirth will. He was okay with it for years as he has genetic conditions of his own, then suddenly asked what I would do if he decided he wanted biological children, not adoption. I was completely blindsided and reiterated that childbirth would likely be the end of me, and I was not okay with that. He left me because I did not make him happy. I hope he has a loving relationship with children now. I have a happy child-free partner, and we are looking at adopting a cat. Story 6. I am a woman in my 70s. I did not want children with my first husband after I married him because he turned out to be a verbally abusive and horrible husband. I thought he would be a terrible father. This proved true with his third wife. I like dogs. Story 7. I told my girlfriend the year we started dating in our early 20s that I never wanted to have children. We got married and lived together for many years. She never mentioned children. I later found out that she hoped I would change my mind. In couples therapy, she tearfully revealed at age 39 that she could have had a family, implying it was my fault. We divorced soon after. Story 8. This is such a significant matter that it is best to take a break. The immense regret someone may feel from spending their years without children is simply not worth the heartache in the end. I am childless myself. I found a woman with 2 grown children. The children always come first, but most of the time it is just us doing whatever we want. Story 9. I have been with my partner for basically 10 years now, but we had a small 6-month breakup over this issue back in 2018. He was unsure if he wanted children, and I firmly did not want kids. That is a position I have never wavered on in my life, and I knew I would not change my mind. He was still undecided, and we were in our mid-20s at the time. Despite being very much in love and having no other serious issues, we parted ways over it. I did not want to potentially cause resentment if he decided to have children later in life. One of his close childhood friends had a child, and when my partner experienced what fatherhood was like and how difficult it was, he went from undecided to never wanting children. We have been back together ever since, and he has remained firmly child-free. We have nephews and a niece whom we love, but we are extremely happy just being the aunt and uncle. Story 10. My ex always said he didn't want children and often talked about getting a vasectomy. I wanted children. He would say, "Maybe I'll change my mind in 10 years," as if I was going to wait 10 years for him to change his mind. I was already in my late 20s at the time. Obviously, we broke up, and I have a family now with someone else who wanted children. Story 11. My wife wanted children, and I did not. Our daughter's last day of high school is today. All of this is absolutely true. Story 12. My ex and I were already not in a great place. When he told me that he realized he wanted children, I decided that divorce was the only option. We were both in our mid-40s at the time. I never wanted kids, and I really did not want a baby in my 40s. I could not keep him from getting what he wanted, so we got a divorce. He is now remarried, and they adopted a baby in 2021. He is 54 with an almost 4-year-old. I am happy for him, but that is not where I saw my life going. Story 13. That's one of the first questions I ask when dating someone new. That, and if they wish to get married or are looking for something casual. Those two differences seem to really rock the boat, so it is better to leave now before feelings grow. Story 14. In my last relationship, we went back and forth about having children, but deeper issues prevented us from working things out. I eventually realized I wanted children, just not with that person. That realization made it clear how incompatible we were, and the relationship ended soon after. Nearly 5 years later, I am in a healthy marriage, and we just had our first child. I absolutely love being a father. Story 15. The conversation went from having children or not, to traveling or not, to moving or staying. I wanted to see the world. She wanted to stay and be a teacher. We cried for a couple of days about it, but we ended on very amicable terms. Her children now sometimes babysit my niece or nephew, and she and I play on a volleyball team. Story 16. Someone is always unhappy unless they accept the other person's decision, and it usually does not end well. Story 17. I dated a man in my 20s who told me a couple of months into our relationship that he did not want children and did not expect to change his mind in the future. We broke up shortly after, and I ended up marrying the next man I dated. We have 2 adult sons and a granddaughter on the way. My ex married soon after we separated and, as expected, has no children. Story 18. Went to therapy for 2 years over an issue. I did not want to go, but my spouse did. I eventually came around to the idea. We tried for 2 years with no success. We likely waited too long due to our age. This is not an issue a couple can compromise on, but to be honest, I feel like we both did. I tried and it did not work. At first, I was a bit sad to be honest, but now, given the current financial and political situation in the United States, I am happy. Story 19. My ex-wife and I wanted kids. I was not prepared to have them with her. She cheated on me before we were married, and I found out after we got married. I was not brave enough to end it and kept making excuses. She was also my best friend. 7 years went by and we eventually split up. She then met someone else but could not have kids. She blamed me for making her wait too long. Eventually, she got pregnant and had a child, but I still do not have a child of my own. Story 20. I definitely did not want children, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, did. During that period, her doctor told us she could not get pregnant, so it seemed irrelevant. Later, we realized that could not get pregnant actually meant unlikely, which we learned after she became pregnant despite not using any precautions for years. Now, we have a 4-year-old child whom I cannot imagine my life without. Story 21. I was unsure. He was not ready to rule it out. So we decided to end our relationship. It was sad, but it would not have been fair to ask him to make that sacrifice. There was no possibility of compromise. We reconnected years later when he had ruled it out. Story 22. We have friends who never had this conversation while dating and got married. They are about 5 years into their marriage, while everyone around them is growing their families. They have been going back and forth for years, and it has been very painful to watch. 1 year yes, another year no. It is torturous. They do not want to end things, and just when one agrees to the opposing idea, the other gets cold feet. This conversation should absolutely happen in the early stages of dating. It seems like common sense. Story 23. For anyone seeking advice. I have always been 100% no children. My wife was always ambivalent when we were young, but family pressure made her feel like she should have children at some point. Before we got engaged, we went to a couples therapist to get an impartial view, seek activities to work it out, and find anything that would help avoid one of us being deeply regretful or resentful years later. The thing that absolutely sealed the deal that we would not have children was the book, Why Have Children? It is an incredibly transparent and honest look at new parenthood from a female psychologist who had a difficult delivery, suffered postpartum depression, and more. If we ever do want children later when we are financially stable and retired, there is always adoption and fostering. Story 24. This was literally the first question I would ask men on dates in my younger years, as there is no compromise. I was not going to waste my time. Story 25. I left. He is married with 2 children as far as I know. I traveled the world. We both got what we wanted. Story 26. I knew 2 such couples. One was together for 7 years. She probably thought they were just young and he would change his mind. He did not. They broke up, and soon after she was engaged and pregnant. The other couple had 2 children together and their situation was a mess. He was not interested in being a parent. They divorced when the children were 5 and 2 years old. She met someone after a few months, and her new partner loves being a bonus father. The biological father's ego is hurt, and he does not want to see the children. Story 27. I am now a single full-time father. It is funny how life works out. Apparently, the idea was far more enticing than the reality. Story 28. I feel very blessed that my boyfriend and I are both undecided. It is kind of exciting because we do not know what will happen, but ultimately our relationship is the #1 priority for both of us. Story 29. We were undecided for 15 years. Turns out if you do not make a decision, life will make it for you. Our daughter is 19 months old and absolutely wild. My house is a mess, and we have never been happier or more in love. Story 30. Neither of us agrees because our minds change every day. Neither of us is adamant about it one way or the other. We are both very much whatever happens, happens. I do not take birth control, but he withdraws. I feel like we both do not want to make an active decision one way or another, so we just let nature take its course. Story 31. My parents were a couple. My mother told my father she would leave him if he did not have children with her. They had my sister and me. My father made it very clear that he never wanted children for my sister and me. I am pretty affected by this. Story 32. I keep bringing them home from the mall and she keeps releasing them back into the wild. It is more an uneasy alliance than a partnership, and I think the wolves and bears are the only ones benefiting from the arrangement. Story 33. I think this can go many different ways. I believe that no one, male or female, should have children if they are firmly opposed to having kids. It's just not fair. Parenthood is a lifelong commitment, the biggest lifestyle change, and the hardest thing you will ever do. When people feel this way and they are in a couple with differing views, it often leads to a breakup, a deal breaker, so to speak. I also think it is very stereotypical that men often say they eventually want kids but hesitate, feel more scared, and try to delay longer than women. Sometimes it takes a little encouragement. That's what happened in my case, but by encouragement, I don't mean forcing someone who says they never want children. Before we got married, we were both uncertain. Right after getting married, I became pregnant accidentally. We were shocked and scared but decided to keep the baby. Unfortunately, I had an early miscarriage at 3 months. This was much more traumatic and upsetting than we expected since we were scared to begin with and it was unplanned. A few months passed, and I would say this experience changed things for us and made us realize that having children was truly something we both wanted. We were already 35 at the time, so I encouraged the decision because I didn't want to be much older. If biology had not been a concern, my husband could have easily waited until we were 45 or 50. But now we have 2 beautiful children and not a single day with regrets. We have friends who have been married about as long as we have. The husband was firmly opposed to having children even when they were dating. She stayed with him, confident she could convince him or that it would just happen anyway. They thought about it seriously for the first few years of their marriage, but eventually she gave up. I believe it comes down to finding someone who shares your views, Or if you love someone who absolutely refuses to have children, you cannot push them. Story 34. My boyfriend wanted kids, but I did not. We broke up and got back together. I relented and said I would have one, and I love her to pieces. He would like more, but I am firmly one and done. It is a lot of work, and she is relatively easy. Story 35. I ended up divorcing him. He had led me on the whole time we were dating with maybe kids one day. After we got married, he revealed that he never wanted kids, and that if I accidentally got pregnant, I would have to get an abortion or I couldn't live with him anymore because he wasn't raising any kids. So I left him and filed for divorce because I had always wanted a family, and it was a deal breaker for me. Plus, he lied to me and threatened to kick me out. Story 36. Our neighbor lived with his girlfriend for several years and they seemed happy. They got married and separated less than 6 months later. Our neighbor asked him what happened. He stayed at their house while his wife moved out. He said his wife wanted children and he did not, so they decided to divorce. We were never sure if they had not discussed having children before marriage or if they had, and she thought she could change his mind. Story 37. My friend was in a long-term relationship with his partner from their late teens to early 30s. He wanted children, but she was always undecided about it. Then we heard that he had gotten his coworker pregnant, which was surprising because he was the last person anyone would expect to be unfaithful. Since this couple was central to our friend group, things became very complicated for a while. The friend and his new partner have now been together for 15 years and have 2 children. The original partner eventually married and had a child with her spouse. So everything worked out for both couples in the end, but the friend group was permanently divided as people chose sides. Story 38. My sibling claims that this argument is why they divorced their former spouse. I am unsure if that is the real story, but that is what they have stuck with. Story 39. I've always wanted children. I started dating my husband when I was 19, and he did not want children. We were young, so we stayed together for a few years, knowing that was a potential future deal breaker. I was unwavering in my stance, and he thought he was too, so we broke up for a couple of months. Then he changed his mind and said he would be open to having children if it meant we could be together. We have the most precious little boy now, and he absolutely loves being a dad. We are both eager to have another. I will say it worked out for us, but that can be a very hard line for people. It is definitely something that should be discussed early in a relationship. Either way, it is possible to live a very happy and fulfilling life with or without children. When we were trying to get pregnant, I did not know how hard or easy it would be, so I told myself if it was not meant to be, then we would just be the fun aunt and uncle who travel a lot. I did not want to spend my whole life longing for something that was not going to happen and miss out on living my life. Story 40. She wanted children, but I did not due to being suicidal, childhood post-traumatic stress disorder, fear of not knowing how to love, and fear of becoming an abusive parent like my father. However, she had invested over 3 years in the relationship, including many fights with me about going to therapy and not killing myself, so I felt I owed it to her. We now have 3 children under the age of 4. Story 41. I have found that it is not really about people wanting children, but wanting their partner's children. Who you are with can greatly impact this decision. I never wanted children until I met my partner. Now we have 2, and as hard as it has been, I do not regret it. Story 42. I've always had my mind made up about it. If I were ever in the position to become a parent and felt the need to be one, I would become a foster parent. Only after fostering would I consider adoption. At no point would I produce my own children. There are many children in this world who could really use decent parents. Maybe I will be one someday. My previous partner knew this and also agreed they did not want their own children and could support fostering. They were lying. They thought I would change my mind because they changed theirs. Suddenly, they did not want to think about fostering anymore because someone else had a bad experience, and they wanted their own children. 4 years of building a life with someone ended with me being discarded. Story 43. My former husband knew I never wanted children from the time we started dating when I was 19. However, he apparently assumed I would change my mind when I got older. After much marriage counseling, we split. He claimed he would be okay with not having children, but I was not willing to deny him that desire. He is now remarried with a child. Story 44. I was never sure if I wanted children or not. I can't see myself having them. My boyfriend said he did, but recently he told me that if I didn't change my mind, he would rather not be together. I wouldn't want to stop him from having children if he wanted to, but I'm so unsure. It's nice that he has said he doesn't mind either way. I really wish I had the desire to have children, but I had to grow up early as a child and go through a lot, so I just don't see myself having children. Story 45. I am the child of a toxic couple who happen to be my sperm and egg donors. Thankfully, I am now adopted by an amazing woman. The egg donor never wanted children and was completely against having them, as she wanted the sperm donor all to herself. The sperm donor threatened to leave and marry someone else over this. To please the sperm donor, the egg donor had more than 10 children, as she was obsessed with him. The sperm donor was the breadwinner, and the egg donor would secretly get others to watch her children. As the kids grew older, she had the eldest take care of the younger ones, which resulted in serious burn injuries and a near-house fire. After the sperm donor passed away, she had a few more children with him. Once he died, she placed any of her children under 18 years old into the care system to avoid the responsibility of raising children she never wanted. She also ensured all those children knew they were never wanted. As for me, she would regularly tell me stories of how she punched her stomach during pregnancy hoping I would not survive. Yet she was horrified that I survived all those blows in the womb. Story 46. My wife did not want any children. I wanted 3 but was a mess and did not have my life together, so I was okay with it. Then she said maybe she does want children. Then she said let's do it, but we would have to have 2, not only 1 child. Now we have 3 and we are done. Story 47. I dated a girl for a few months who wanted children. We agreed that she wanted children and I did not. We were intimate for a while before moving on. Story 48. Not me, but a friend went through a much more uncommon scenario where they originally did not want children but decided to have one, and they are very happy with that decision. Story 49. I wanted children and was vocal about it from the beginning. My ex-husband said he wanted children when we were first dating and talked about how excited he was to be a father. After 5 years of marriage, he told me he did not want children anymore. Now we are getting a divorce, and I keep wondering if he ever wanted children or if he just said he did. Story 50. My partner and I have been together for 18 years since we were both 16 years of age. I have always said I did not want children. He initially thought he did not want children, but in the last 5 years, he said he did. We had a surprise pregnancy, and our little one is nearly 1 year old. She is the best thing that has happened to both of us and has completed our family. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.